It's always incredible coming across a creature you've never seen before. Is it real? Is it fake? You'd be surprised to hear how often scientists think they've come across a new species, only to realize it already exists. Or, like this diver, who may have thought he found an entirely new creature, but oh wait, it was actually just a boat. Maybe next time. However, our video promises to show you 10 of the largest unknown sea creatures, and they all exist, we promise. Although some of these creatures are incredibly intelligent, they probably can't use a computer just yet. As a result, they're missing out on our videos. Before we start, make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss out too. Lion's mane jellyfish. It's been compared to the blue whale in size, and the lion's mane jellyfish is almost as big. The largest jellyfish in the world, its tentacles can grow up to 120 feet long, and it has a bell diameter of almost 7 feet wide. It's definitely not one you'd want to cross your path while swimming in the ocean. Luckily, you're probably not likely to, as although this jellyfish prefers the open ocean, it also prefers colder temperatures. This means you'd have to be swimming in the Arctic Ocean or the Northern Pacific Ocean in order to come across one, so you're probably safe for now. Its name comes from the long, hair-like tentacles that cluster below its bell. Along with its huge size, this jellyfish has 8 clusters of tentacles, and within each cluster can be up to 150 separate tentacles. It's no surprise that the lion's mane jellyfish has a lot of potential to be dangerous. It has a powerful sting and survives on a diet of small fish, crustaceans, and even other small jellyfish. This is also definitely a jellyfish more equipped for modern life than others. Its bioluminescent abilities means it can produce its own light, and so can glow underwater. It's also thought that the lion's mane jellyfish actually thrives in areas affected by human activity. Overfishing has killed off a lot of its predators. Fin whale. The second biggest animal in the world, the fin whale is now classified as endangered due to worldwide commercial whaling. In fact, nearly 750,000 of them were killed in the last century, meaning they're rarely seen outside of the North Atlantic Ocean. In contrast to many animals, the females are slightly larger than the males, with a standard length of 62 feet for males and 65 for females. Some even grow to 82 and 88 meters respectively. The fin whale is nicknamed the razorback due to its distinctive streamlined appearance. Its dorsal fin is around 60 centimeters high, and it's generally slimmer than the blue whale. It has, on average, 85 ventral grooves running along the underside of its body and between 350 and 400 baleen plates in its mouth. It's also sometimes called the greyhound of the sea because it can reach speeds of up to 29 miles per hour. This whale can weigh up to 120 tons, making its ability to swim so fast no mean feat. This speed meant the fin whale was safe from hunting for many years, until commercial whaling started including explosive harpoons and faster boats in its conquest. Despite its endangered status, it's still unfortunately hunted fairly regularly. Iceland captured 125 whales alone in the summer of 2009. Oceanic manta ray. They're up there with the largest sea creatures in the world, but the oceanic manta ray still snacks mainly on tiny plankton. It can reach lengths of 23 feet, making it larger than any other ray species. This great size also helps when it comes to catching their prey. The giant creature swims along with its mouth open and just lets the plankton and other small fish get guided in. In order to do this successfully and end up with a full stomach, the manta ray has specialized flaps which are called cephalic lobes to direct food and water into its mouth. Scientists are still trying to learn more about the oceanic manta ray, but its migration patterns have made it difficult. The rays do not seem to spend a great deal of time in any one place, and with numbers decreasing all the time, it's important scientists learn more in order to promote their survival. However, the oceanic manta ray is of great interest to tourism operations and scuba divers, and conservation actions are currently being promoted. Despite this, the rays are still being captured for their meat and their traditional medicinal remedies. Hopefully, if scientists track the rays' movement more successfully, we won't see this giant creature dying out anytime soon. Giant oarfish. Thought to be the inspiration behind the sea serpents of the past, the giant oarfish is the world's largest bony fish. Recently, they've been spotted on the beaches of California, but they're rarely seen here alive as they prefer the deep waters of the sea. Usually, they tend to swim around 3,300 feet below the surface, so you're unlikely to come across one even with the best scuba diving equipment. The giant oarfish, as the name would suggest, is pretty darn big. It can reach lengths of 56 feet and weighs up to 600 pounds. They also have the advantage over many other sea creatures in that they're not regularly hunted. Not only do they swim too far down, but also their flesh tastes like goo, apparently. Not something we would eat with french fries by the seaside. It differs from other fish because the giant oarfish doesn't have scales. Instead, it has soft, silvery skin made of a material called guanine. It is adapted to survive under harsh conditions, but its skin is easily damaged. You wouldn't think so from looking at it, but it's really not a scary fish. It doesn't even have teeth. Tiny plankton don't require chewing, so the giant oarfish instead has gill rakers, which are much softer, that it uses to catch its food. Whale shark. It's almost cute looking, and if you want to play with a shark, then the whale shark is probably your safest bet. It's also generally a lone wolf in the ocean. Are you feeling sorry for this gentle giant yet? The whale shark is the biggest shark in the world, but it's also one of the friendliest. On occasion, it's been known to play with divers and even let them have a ride. Now, that's not something you'd like to even consider with your standard great white shark. At 40 feet long, we're pretty sure you and all of your friends could have a ride at the same time. It weighs in around 11 tons. You can be sure the whale shark would be under no pressure to support your weight either. Think of it as the bus of the ocean. You wouldn't believe it, but whale sharks actually have a similarity to humans. They have a unique pattern of spots across their body, which lets them be identified easily by scientists, similar to human fingerprints. This, so far, has allowed conservation experts to identify 458 different whale sharks in the Philippines alone. They're thought to be very valuable due to their meat, fins, and oil, and as such are under threat from hunters. Even tourism boats are a threat to them, as getting too close can injure the sharks. Giant elephant seal. There are two variations of the giant elephant seal, northern and southern. Although both are pretty big, the southern elephant seal takes the title of largest Arctic seal. Males can weigh up to 8,800 pounds and can grow to over 20 feet long. This makes it 6 to 7 times larger than a polar bear. You would expect the seal to take its name from the size of an elephant, but you'd be wrong. In fact, the giant elephant seal was named this due to its similarity with trunks. Yes, that's right. Male elephant seals, which grow far larger than their female counterparts, have inflatable trunk-like snouts. This trunk can grow to around 1.5 feet long, making it easily distinguishable from any other seal. They also used to be known as sea elephants and were at risk of extinction. Hunters went after them for their oil until legal restrictions put a stop to it. Now, their population numbers are slowly returning back to normal. When you typically think of seals, I'm sure you too imagine them lazing around on the ice. But these elephant seals can dive down into the ocean for over 2 hours without resurfacing and can reach depths of 4,921 feet. Giant spider crab. Otherwise known as the Japanese spider, the giant spider crab is definitely one of the scarier inhabitants of the ocean. You might try and compare it in your head to a typical shore-grazing crab, but these huge creatures can grow a leg span up to 12 feet long and can weigh up to 42 pounds. If that alone doesn't scare you, consider the fact that they're big enough to eat a human child. No thanks. Luckily, you won't have to fear the ocean for being eaten alive by a crab, because the giant spider crab keeps to the depths. It usually stays between 490 and 980 meters below sea level. But this also means they're tough and well adapted to many harsh conditions. They're not immortal though, and in Japan, they're considered a delicacy. However, if you're not a fan of eating animals, you could consider owning one as a pet. They can live up to 100 years, meaning no tears necessary, unlike when Buster the dog leaves you in your childhood. Each to their own, we guess. Despite their terribly creepy exterior, apparently the giant spider crab is pretty friendly. Scientists who have experienced the crab have said it's gentle and not predatory, but we'll leave that experience for another day. Giant Pacific octopus. We bet you never thought you'd come across a creature on this list that can complete human activities. But the giant Pacific octopus is so smart, it's been known to open jars, mimic other octopi, or solve mazes when captured by scientists. It's the biggest octopus in the world and has reportedly grown to a record-breaking 30 feet once. But your standard giant Pacific octopus will only grow to 16 feet. Still pretty big if you ask us. The biggest in the world weighed more than 600 pounds, but this is rare. They don't usually break the scales at 110 pounds. Unlike some of the other creatures on our list, the giant Pacific octopus doesn't live very long. They have an average lifespan of 3 to 5 years, and females usually don't live much longer after giving birth. This sea creature, like many other species of octopi, is able to use special pigment in its cells to blend in with the surroundings in times of danger. It's been known to merge with even the most intricately patterned corals and rocks. The giant Pacific octopus is not currently considered endangered or at risk of becoming so, although scientists are not sure of their population numbers. However, they are susceptible to changing ocean conditions and could be at risk from polluted waters. Caribbean barrel sponge. Unlike any other creature in the ocean, the Caribbean barrel sponge has many properties that would make us consider if it even counts as a sea creature at all. For a start, did you know that the sea sponges don't have tissue? This separates them from every other creature in the world. They've existed for at least 500 million years, and their individual cells can all transform to complete the job of any other cell. Would you believe that if a sea sponge was put into a blender, it could reform itself back into shape purely because of these special cells? The Caribbean barrel sponge is one of the largest of these sponges and can grow to at least 6 feet wide. It has a glass-like skeleton that acts as protection, to the extent that other sea creatures use it as their own personal habitat. They're thought to live for over 2,000 years, although scientists predict far longer. It feeds by filtering water through its own body and separating food particles and water via this process. Then, the water will exit through a large opening at the top, called the osculum. More impressively, they also take in oxygen from the water during this process. Giant isopod. These sea creatures come in over 20 different species, but giant isopods definitely deserve a place on our list purely because they have so many interesting features. With an average size of 12 inches, they're not the biggest sea creatures around, but scientists once discovered one that was 2.5 feet long. Compared to your standard bug, that makes them pretty large. They're bottom dwellers and prefer to stay between 550 and 7,020 feet below surface, where it's dark and murky. It's thought that their giant size helps them to survive in these conditions. The giant isopod is thought to be a carnivore and snacks on whatever dead creatures fall from above, but they can last a long time without food, 5 years in fact. As a result, they're very polite. They aren't aggressive feeders in the slightest, and it's often only one out of a group that will eat on any one occasion. We guess this makes them perfect guests to bring to a dinner party. They also have something in common with one of the most unlikeliest animals, cats. Like our feline friends, giant isopods have wide-set, reflective eyes, which is what makes them look like they're glowing. However, unlike our furry pets, giant isopods don't seem to have very good vision, which is probably something to do with living at the bottom of the ocean. Now that you've learned all about ocean creatures, you probably want to learn about everything else too. So subscribe to the Hub to make sure you don't miss out on all our videos. Thanks!